KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Shalom, family. Shalom, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So before we get started, give me a 1 if I sound okay, 2 if not. I'm not really hearing myself. Hold on. Okay, I'm seeing 1s. All right, so let me say this. So, well, let's start off with this. I'm gonna start off with this, then I'm gonna come back and make a comment. So, all right.
Esau begins as a black man among black nations, the twin of Jacob. Bloodlines diverge, then braid into power. The story does not stay still.
A single sentence becomes a signature. The blade will draw borders, seize roads, and write law in iron.
Zepho, a prince of Esau, took his father's strength to the western sea. In stitched hides they crossed, the salt wind hardening their faces. By larger timber holes they reached the Isles of Chittim and set foot upon
Obadiah
it.
names the fracture, brother against brother, and fixes judgment to the deed. Families fuse. Power rewards resemblance to the center.
In Italia, the house of Esau absorbs and is absorbed, and a white Rome steps forward wearing old ambitions in a new...
Raised by Rome, rules for Rome. Titles come from the Senate, not the altar. The crown and the eagle share the same shadow.
The road to Jerusalem climbs. In the heights, stone meets iron. Rome calls it strategy. Obadiah calls it violence against a brother. Because of the violence done to your brother Jacob, shame shall cover you.
The eagle rises and calls itself eternal. The prophet answers without blinking.
Esau becomes the end of the world, the power seated at the close of the age, ruling by the sword and by the ledger, calling dominion by many names, yet bearing one spirit.
Not every branch crosses the sea. Edomite tribes remain black on the continent, keeping names, cattle, and shrines, while their cousins in Italia grow pale under marble.
The prophet closes the circle. Power collected by the sword finds its limit. The flame belongs to Jacob and Joseph.
Brother against brother writes long history, yet the land remembers more than banners. Names change, faces change. The verdict does not. So it begins as a black man.
All right, so that's a little short that I created, so you won't watch it again. It's that tail. And, I did that before I wanted to talk about this because I've been going back and forth with someone about Esau. And some people believe Esau is a black man. Some people believe Esau is a white man. Now, to me, I believe that both sides miss the complexity of history. Right? So one side says it's a black man. Are they wrong? No. One side says that Esau is a white man. Is that wrong? No. And why do I say that? We're going to talk about that. But I'm going to say, as we go along, prophecy, as I've learned over the years, is very complex. And it is nuanced. And you got to look at the dotted I's and the crossed T's. And so when we look at prophecy, right, a lot of people look at it as linear. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. When you look at the context of things, we can't read it linear. And I'll give you an example. Jeremiah 29:14 says we're going to go back to the land we were taken from, right? But you read the rest of Jeremiah 29 is talking about old Babylon, when we were held captive in ancient Babylon. But then we see we were later on in verse 14, we're scattered to the four corners. That was a future tense. And that's what I mean when we look at prophecy. Some people don't understand that, one, you have to look at the context and the nuances. You have to look at the symbols, the symbolisms, right? And sometimes you can have a historical fact that repeats itself in the future. Okay, and we're going to talk about that as well. Okay. So when we read scripture, even as, as someone says right here, Coco G, Esau's seed is spoiled, right? And you have to look at that with nuance as well, right? And you could take it from the let's say the obvious viewpoint, which is his lineage, which I wouldn't say is incorrect, right? But in Jeremiah 49:10 it says, "But I've made Esau bare. I've uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not." All right. So on the one sense, you can look at it as a genetic line, right? Which his ancestry, his descendants, right? And on the other hand, it, because of the word spoiled, it's the word shadad or shadad, right? It means ruined. Now, it could be ruined genetically, right? Theoretically. But you got to look at the context, right? And the context seems to point more so towards him being spoiled or plundered and ravaged, which ties into the other prophecies concerning Esau. So, like I was saying, we have to look in the context of these things, where Yahuah was declaring that the descendants of Esau would be stripped of their strength and wealth and protection. Now, this would line up also with the statue of Daniel, right, where we have the 10-toe kingdom and partly strong, partly weak. And I'm going to get to that as we move on. But when we look at the scriptures, we got to take everything together, right? In the past, I've made the analogy of taking a picture puzzle, right? And that picture puzzle, you put the pieces in there and you start to see things. It starts to make sense. You start to figure out what the prophecy is, what's really happening here. And sometimes what happens is we put the pieces together and we say, oh, I think that's a clock. Oh, I think it's a vase. Oh, I think that is a bunny rabbit, right? But we don't have all the pieces because we didn't put all of the pieces together yet. Because as we know, when we go through the scriptures, it takes a while to take all of the scriptures and understand them and what's happening. So understanding prophecy, we have to understand that we have these little pieces that create the picture puzzle, and you cannot take a linear path. So those who say Esau is white is correct, and those who say Esau is black or was black or both is also partially correct, right? And I'm going to explain that, what I mean by that. So, but we got to look at the history. We have to look at the history. And for instance, let me ask you, family, before I continue. When you first found out you were Israel, what was the one major prophecy that convinced you that you were Israeli? Which prophecy that you was like, oh, that's nobody else but us? Which one? Thank you. Deuteronomy 28. And it's the same with Esau, right? There's prophecies that fit no one else but Esau. I don't care if you call him the white man, the black man, the Chinese man, whatever. The prophecies concerning Esau fits no one else but Esau. The prophecies of the Israelites, Yasharal, fits nobody other than us. Okay, and that's what we got to understand. And so as we put the picture puzzle together, right, we got to understand what's happening. So like, for instance, since we all agree that Deuteronomy 28 was the de facto prophecy that identified the Israeli, fits no other group of people in the history of this planet, how do we determine which prophecies fit Edom? And so I've seen people take pieces here, pieces there, right? But they don't put it all together as a whole. And you know what else they don't do? They don't tie in the history. So, for instance, in order for us to determine that we are the true Israeli, right? We read Deuteronomy 28. We say, hey, some people went into captivity or slavery on ships, right? Some people, children were taken from them and never seen again. Some people had chains put on their neck, right? So when we start looking at the fulfillment of the prophecies in history, that along with the prophecies themselves identifies the person, correct? Yes or no, family? I just want to know before I continue. So you can't just stand on a prophecy alone. You have to look at the history. And that's what people fail to do. Oh, I think Esau the white man. Oh, I think Esau the black man. Oh, Esau got to be African because his brother was African. See, that's just logic from a human point of view. But there were complexities throughout our captivity and complexities throughout our judgment that people don't talk about. But the Bible gives us a picture of Esau and what he did. Now, let's go to this right quick. Psalm 83. Do not keep silent, O Yah. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O Yah. For behold, your enemies make a tumult. So we have enemies, more than one, plural, right? So we know Esau is one of our enemies, right? And those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people. So they're taking crafty counsel against us, right? And consulted against your sheltered ones. No, I like the definition or translation, that is, of hidden ones. This one says sheltered ones. No, I like the definition or the translation with hidden ones. We were hidden. So they took crafty counsel. What did they do? They planned to move us far away from our land and to put us into captivity. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, right? This is tied to prophecy. Cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more. They took away our heritage and our identity, right? Some of the things that identify us. But guess what? These same prophecies that identify the Ezra-Alawi also identifies Esau and his confederacy. For they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you. Who? Who started it? First mention. Who started it? First mention. The tents of Edom. They started this whole thing. What? The captivity, the slavery, the removing of our heritage, the removing of our identity to cut us off for being a nation. So the head of the confederacy is Edom and the Ishmaelites. Now, when we look at today's society, right, because we have the privilege of being in at that time, we're in the future. And we have the privilege of looking back, and we can see the people who are part of this confederacy, right? Now, let me ask you a question before I continue, because I'm going to prove my point from Scripture. But when we look at the Scriptures, who did all these things, family? I just want to know. Was it a white man or a black man? I just want to know. Well, you know, Yakoba, we were sold by Africans. Okay, maybe some of those were Edomite. Okay. But who did all of this? Who was the head chief of all of this? Because as we see, Edom is the founder. He's the author of the conspiracy. Who started it all? Case closed. I could stop right here. I can stop right here, but I'm not. They're the ones that put us into captivity. They're the ones sold us into slavery. But yet the Bible says that Edom was the author. He's the HNIC. At the time, he was black. At the time, Esau was a black man. But not today, not all of them. See, that's why I got to tell you, it's the nuances. So I'm going to go through this particular article I wrote, and I'm going to post it on our website. That's tailministries.com. But I'm going to go through this article because it had to be written down and it has to be shared because the whole thing becomes too complex, even just for a teaching, that you need to go back and be able to have access to it and review it, all right? So I'm going to show you where Mr. D. Whitman, y'all understand what I'm saying, right, family? Mr. D. Whitman was the one who did these things, conspired, put us into slavery, put us on ships, put chains around our necks, and sent us to the four corners. But guess what? The Bible hints at Esau being the one who's behind it. Oh, I'm going to show you. I know you don't believe me. Oh, well, you know, Yakoba, I disagree with you because people say that Rome is the iron legs. Well, Rome is the iron legs. I mean, you can look at it through history. Ain't no debate on this. Okay? But we're gonna work our way there. All right, so we're going to go here. Obadiah's prophecy of betrayal. Obadiah 1:11-14 declares, in that day thou stoodest on the other side in the day that strangers carried away captives his forces. So strangers carried away captives. We went into slavery. Let's just put it that way, right? And foreigners entered his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was as one of them. Keynote, keep that in your mind. Even thou was as one of them. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their... Oh, that's a repeat, huh? Anyway. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So, this prophecy in Obadiah, this prophecy exposes a national betrayal. Esau did not simply stand by while strangers invaded Jerusalem. He actively joined them. He rejoiced at his brother's fall, looted his possessions, and participated in his sufferings. That same pattern repeated centuries later when Rome destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. Under Titus, Roman legions entered the city, killed its people, and carried away its treasuries. The Ark of Titus in Rome still commemorates that act, showing the golden menorah taken from the temple. Now, we see that Esau was as one of them. Even thou was as one of them. They entered the gates as well to our destruction and destroyed our nation. Who? Your brother Esau. And not only did they enter in and participate in the Roman sacking of Jerusalem, thou shouldest not have entered the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. So Esau entered in the gates along with Rome and conquered Jerusalem. Okay? And they took their substance. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. So Rome took their stuff and Esau took their stuff. But people trying to tell me that Esau and Rome are not the same. I've gone through other teachings. I've shown you where Zepho went to what we call Italia and took over. And then those people, the Europeans, took over again. But as you saw in my snippet, the little short, Esau became mangled amongst the Europeans. Now, here's the dilemma. And let me say it this way. All Europeans are not Esau, and all Esau are not Europeans. Repeat after me. All Europeans are not Esau, and all Esau are not Europeans. Some Edomites still exist on the continent of Africa, and I think I know who they are, and I mentioned it before, but I'm not going to get into it, because even with that, I don't think it's as simple as straightforward reading. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of migration, a lot of mixing, a lot of intermingling has happened, and it's not as straightforward as people want it to be. All right, so the Roman invasion and Edom's collaboration, the lying foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. perfectly matches the Roman invasion. Casting lots refers to the division of spoils and the distribution of captives, which was the fate of Judah's people under Rome. The phrase, even thou wast as one of them, identifies Edom's collaboration with foreign powers. Esau did not remain neutral. He became one of the invaders. Even thou was as one of them. Can I repeat it in another way? Can I say it in another way? Can I say it in another way, family? Y'all were Romans just like them, Europeans. Y'all were Romans just like the Europeans. Y'all came in here, y'all sacked us, y'all killed us, y'all burned our city, y'all took our stuff, and y'all put us into captivity, all right? Who? Esau. So when you say Esau and Rome are not the same, you are incorrect. And I'm still not finished. I'm just getting started. Esau's bloodline joins Rome through Zepho. By the 1st century, that alliance was no longer symbolic, it was literal. Through his descendant Zepho, who allied himself with the people of Chittim. Esau's bloodline entered into the very foundation of Rome's ruling families. Ancient traditions record that Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, the grandson of Esau, rose to prominence among the descendants of Chittim in Europe, and later became a general and ruler within that realm. His line integrated into the emerging power that became Rome. From that time onward, Esau's descendants were no longer outsiders looking at Rome's rise. They were inside it, shaping it. That's why Herod was there. That's why he was working for Rome when they were controlling Jerusalem during the time of the Messiah. Come on, we got to use that logic, that reasoning, that education that we all have gotten from this Babylonian system. Herod's Edomite rule under Rome. That integration explains how the Idumeans of Herod's line came to power in Judea under Roman authority. Herod the Great was an Edomite, descended from Esau. His reign under Rome marked the physical return of Esau's lineage to Jerusalem, ruling it by Roman decree. The prophecy in Obadiah, thou shouldest not have entered into the gates of my people, came to life when Herod, the Edomite king, entered the city as Rome's representative. Esau had fully merged with the Roman world, politically, culturally, and militarily. See, that's the thing that gets me, right? People say that Esau is not Rome, but yet we see Herod representing Rome. Come on now, make it make sense, family. Herod represented Rome, but people want to say Esau is not Rome. He's not associated with Rome. They're not the same. Make it make sense. The looting of Jerusalem fulfills prophecy. When Obadiah says, neither shouldest thou have laid hands on their substance, it mirrors what Rome did in 70 AD, stripping the temple of its wealth and looting the holy vessels. The destruction of Jerusalem under Roman command fulfilled the ancient warning. Through Zepho's alliance with Chittim, some say Kittim, I say Chittim, Esau's people became part of the Roman power that later crushed Judah. We see this in the Bible. We see this in history. We see this with the Maccabees. Edom becomes the Roman Empire. Edom did not just share Rome's spirit of conquest. It became Rome's governing bloodline. Esau's dominion was reborn in the Roman Empire. The kingdoms that descended from Rome, the European powers, and the Western world system continue that same rule today. And I'm going to prove this. And understand that, the prophecies identify Esau as Rome. So therefore, Esau is a white man, but not only, okay, because you still have some on the continent that's still Negro. See, Esau had 17 tribes. Israel had 12 tribes. Esau had 17 tribes. Out of those 17 tribes, we know for a fact that Zepho went to Chittim and became a ruler. And when the Europeans took it back, the Edomites were subservient to Rome again, still part of their system, their governance, and all of their military structure, still there. Esau's age and Jacob's age. 2 Ezra 6, 7, and 9 explains this clearly. I said, tell me, please, when will the end of the age come, and when will the new age begin? He said to me, from Abraham came Isaac, and from Isaac came Jacob and Esau. Jacob's hand was holding Esau's heel from the very beginning. Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of the next one. So the question is, what is an age? What is an age? Because people got all kind of interpretations for this, right? But you got to stay within the text. So some translations say the end of the world, right? The word translated world means age, a defined period of dominion. Esau's age represents the final era of human empires. It is the age of the Iron Kingdom, the period when Esau's descendants ruled the world through Rome and its extensions. When that age ends, Jacob's age begins, which is the restoration of Israel under Yahuah's rule. So we see the imagery of the age in the statue of Daniel. Head of gold, breast and arms of brass, right? Middle section silver, the legs of iron, and toes mixed with iron and clay. Now, there's some complexities in that whole imagery that, I only recently figured out. And we have to understand that even with that whole statue, I tell you, it's like, it takes a while to get rid of Christian doctrine. You know that? I'm like your interpretation of some stuff, and when you look at the 10 toes and the interpretation of those things. But if you stay consistent with the symbology, right, you'll stay on track. So anyway, the legs of iron all the way to the 10 toes is the continuation of an empire. Yes or no, family? Yes or no? You agree with me? The legs of iron continuing to the toes is a continuation of an empire. And if it is a continuation of an empire, then the final form of that empire is partly strong and partly weak. Well, what empire lasted that long that it's the legs all the way to the toes? What empire continues to this present day? Can we say Rome? Daniel's prophecy of the fourth kingdom. Daniel's prophecies show this same sequence. In Daniel 7:7, the prophet says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and exceedingly strong. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled underfoot what was left. It was different from all the beasts that came before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, this is going to be interesting as we move further along, because even the 10 horn thing has a nuance to it. Okay? So in Daniel 2:40, Nebuchadnezzar's dream reveals the same empire. The fourth kingdom will be as strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything, and as iron crushes things to pieces, so it will crush and shatter all the others. Now, my question to you, fam, in history, you all have had history classes, right? Did not Rome, the ancient Roman Empire, do this? Go for it, conquering and to conquer, right? Did not the European power structure, who are descendants of the Holy Roman Empire, do the same thing? Go conquering and to conquer. The age of discovery was Rome doing what, family? conquering and conquering. America continues what UK left behind, what Britain left behind, which is conquering and conquering. The fourth kingdom will be as strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. Is that not what we've seen over the last 2,000 years of Rome? Continuing all the way through the Holy Roman Empire, continuing through the Portuguese and the Spaniards, continuing through the Germans, continuing through the British, and continuing through America. Is that not what we continue to see today, that it smashes everything? And as iron crushes things to pieces, so it will crush and shatter all the other. Is that not what they're doing? Is that not what America? Is not America doing that to Venezuela? Is not America doing that to the people in the Middle East? You know, the ones over there with the letter with the G and the Z and the A and at the end. You know what I'm saying? Is not America? Didn't America do that to Venezuela? Didn't America do that to Korea? I'm just saying. The fourth kingdom is Rome. America is a continuation of Rome. I'm going to tell you, if I don't forget, I'm going to tell you something about that too, because it's real deep. I mean, I had a revelation on this and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. But anyway, I might just mention it as opposed to continuing it as a teaching. But anyway, that fourth kingdom is Rome. It conquered nations and ruled them with iron authority. It later divided into Western and Eastern empires, from which the European nations and the Vatican emerged. This continuation of Rome is Esau's ongoing kingdom in the modern age. Esau's nature of conquest. Genesis 27:40 reveals Esau's nature. You will live by the sword and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will break free from his yoke. Esau's descendants have lived by war, conquest, and bloodshed. Through Rome's legions, through Europe's colonization, and through global domination, the same pattern remains. This is the iron rule of Esau, the age of the sword. Now remember, according to Daniel's statute, the legs of iron, which is Rome, continued throughout a long age. Right? That's why it's the legs. It's the longest part of the body. Right? All the way down to the toes. So this kingdom of Esau, which is Rome, is going to continue till Messiah return. And what do? They dominate the globe through conquest and bloodshed. Isaiah's vision of vengeance. Isaiah foresaw its destruction. Isaiah 34:5-8 says, my sword has drunk its fill in the heavens. It will come down on Edom, on the people I have doomed to judgment. The sword of Yahuah is covered with blood. It is gorged with fat, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fatted kidneys of rams. For Yahuah has a sacrifice in Basra, a great slaughter in the land of Edom. For Yahuah has a day of vengeance, a year of retribution for Zion's cause. What does Joel chapter 3 say? The Most High going to judge the nations for what they did to his people? Well, who did all these things? The Bible says it's Edom. The Bible says that there's a sacrifice in Basra. But I'm going to show you that all of this is tied to Rome, tied to the last day age of Rome, which is the legs of iron, which continues to this day. And this has been our enemy since we left in 70 AD. These people have been our nemesis since we left in 70 AD or got kicked out. Edom represents the empire that began through Zepho and expanded into the Roman world. Yahuah calls their downfall his day of vengeance, the day he ends Esau's global reign. The garment stained in blood, Isaiah 63:1-4. Who is this coming from Edom, from Basra, with his garment stained crimson? It is I announcing righteousness, mighty to save. It's Yahusha. Why are your garments red like those who tread the winepress? I've treading the winepress alone. No one was with me. I trampled them in my anger and trod them down in my fury. Their blood spattered my garments and stained all my clothing. For the day of vengeance was in my heart, and the year of my redemption had come. Well, guess what? The winepress was pressed where? In Basra. Who's in Basra? Edom. But yet we see this imagery here of what's happening during the time of what we call the end days to the beast system, which shows you that the final beast system is still tied to the Roman Empire, just an amalgamation of nations controlled by Esau, which is Rome. Oh, I'm not finished. The red garment represents the blood of the nation descended from Esau, those who formed the Roman and European world system. Revelation in the end of Esau's empire, Revelation 19:13-15, shows the same event. He was clothed with a robe dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahuah. The armies of heaven followed him on white horses, dressed in fine linen, white and clean. Out of his mouth came a sharp sword with which to strike down the nations. He will rule them with a rod of iron, and he treads the winepress of the fury and wrath of Almighty Yahuah. Who's getting trampled? The nations. What nations? The Psalm 83 nations. Who's the boss? Who's the HNIC? Well, they're not all HNIC. But who's running things? It's Esau. The robe dipped in blood echoes Isaiah's vision, and the rod of iron links to Daniel's fourth kingdom. These prophecies describe the same event. Messiah destroys the final iron empire that arose through Esau's line and continues in today's global powers. The conclusion of Esau's age, 2 Ezra 6:9 declares Esau is the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of the next age. What? Ruling empire, legs of iron. Daniel 2:7 identify the iron kingdom that rules until Yahuah intervenes. Isaiah 34:63 foretell vengeance on Edom. Who lives in Basra? Who's getting stamped in by getting crushed in Basra is Edom, but we know who's ruling things. It's Rome. Who's the final kingdom at this time? We're here. We're in the future. We're in the time of the book of Revelation. Who's ruling things? It's Mr. D. Whitman. Revelation 19 completes it with the Messiah's return and judgment. An age is a set time of dominion given by Yahuah. Esau's age began when his descendants through Zepho entered Rome and gained world authority. It ends when Yahuah judges those nations and restores Israel. Then begins Jacob's age and the everlasting kingdom of Yahuah. Final fulfillment and conclusion. As the angel told Ezra, Esau is the end of the age and Jacob is the beginning of the one that follows. Through Zepho's alliance, Esau became Rome. And through Rome's legacy, he rules the world today. This is a continuous enemy. He is a continuous enemy. That kingdom of Esau, the European world order, will fall when Messiah returns with his vesture dipped in blood to bring judgment and establish the reign of Jacob forever. Conclusion. Rome is Edom, and a continuation of that empire exists today in the nations ruled by white Europeans. Through Zepho, Esau's descendants merged with the people of Edom, established their power within the early Roman world. Over generations, that branch of Esau intermarried with European tribes, producing the white lineage that inherited Rome's authority. The black Edomite line that remained in Africa lost global influence. But the ruling Edomite power that spread across the earth became white and European. That's Zepho's lineage, right? The Rome that destroyed Jerusalem enslaved Israel and spread its empire through war, evolved into the same European nations that carried out the transatlantic slave trade. We've been through that whole story in history. Those same powers, Spain, Portugal, Britain, France, and others, are the modern expression of Rome's dominion. They're ruling during this age. The iron rule that began in the ancient empire continues under the Western world's political, economic, and religious systems. This means that the prophecies concerning Esau's kingdom in the last days are fulfilled not by black people, but by the white nations who rose from Rome's empire. They built their global power on conquest, slavery, and the oppression of the true Israelites. Just as Esau was foretold to live by the sword, white supremacy is not a new order. It is the modern form of Rome's Edomite rule. It never ended. Just as I told you, the Inquisition never ended. The ruling class today, including the governments, religious institutions, and financial systems of the Western world, represents the same Roman order under new names. These are the descendants of the Edomite branch that became white through Edom. They are the ones who fulfilled the curses of Deuteronomy 28, put us into slavery, sent us to the four corners as slaves, upon Israel, and who still hold dominion in Esau's world. The prophecies of Obadiah, Isaiah, and Revelation all point to the same power. The Messiah's return and his vesture dipped in blood marks the judgment of this white Edomite system, the global empire that began with Rome and still rules until it is destroyed and Jacob's kingdom is restored. So we see here, as we go back up, right? Who is this coming from? Edom, from Basra, with his garment stained in crimson. Okay, so this is talking about Edom, right? It's talking about Basra, which is associated with the Edomites. But yet we see Messiah is the one doing the pressing of the wine press, right? And we see this in the book of Revelation when Yeshua comes to destroy what they define or classify as the nations. But Isaiah 63, 1-4 ties it to Edom. Therefore, whosoever at the end of the age, which we call the last days, who's ruling at the end of the age is Edom. Who's ruling at the end of the age, family? Who's ruling? Is it a white man or a black man? Who's ruling at the end of the age? Is it Africa or Europe? Western Europe. See, we got to ask these questions because people want to get in their feelings when you start talking about, the ethnicity of people, right? We got to make sure that all of this stuff comes in the line when we, discuss the last days. Now, there's an interesting concept that we see as we go through this, and we look at the 10-toe kingdom, which is tied to the kingdom of Rome, right? There's a lot of things we have to work through, because here's the thing, we all see through a glass darkly, right? And we get little pieces here, little pieces there, revelation here, revelation there. And what we end up finding out, we get pieces of the information. So progressively, like for instance, several years ago, I identified Rome as Esau or Edom. But it's interesting when we look at the complexities of this situation, because what I found out some other things that we have to take note of. And that's dealing with what the Bible refers to as the 10 toes, right? So, excuse me. Let me continue this, because we see that Edom is Rome and Rome is Edom. Now, before I continue, family, yes or no, is your opinion. Do you think Edom and Rome are the same? Do you think these prophecies point to anybody else but the ones who control today, which is white European power structure? Do you think at any time this new world order global system is going to pass on to Africa or pass on to what they call the black Edomites? Do you think at some time, this global new world order where they're trying to push the digital ID, the mark of the beast, the AI, you think all of it, and the billionaires, you think all of a sudden this whole thing is going to switch at the last final moment and here come black dynamite, the black Edomites? No. It's the same power structure that invaded us in 70 AD. It's the same power structure that kicked us out of Spain and Portugal and sent us to Sao Tome and Angola. It's the same power structure that hang us from trees. It's the same power structure that shoots us in the streets. It's the same power structure that tries to make sure we don't advance economically. It's the same thing. It's not going to change. We can see that the end time system is a Roman system, which is a Edomite run system. Oh, well, Yahuah, I just can't deal with the fact that Edom is non-white. I can't deal with the fact, Yahuah, that Edom is white. Because, Edom was Jacob's twin. He has to be black, Yahuah. Really now? Do black folks fulfill these prophecies or not? Is black folks going around the world, steal, kill, and destroy? By the sword, conquer everybody, treading underfoot, crushing them down? Is it black folks doing these things or is it white folks? I'm just asking. I'm not being racial. I'm just being honest. Who is it? Who's fulfilling the prophecies? I just want to know. So let's continue, because there's a deeper dynamic here, which I only recently found out. And I'm going to tell you, this warfare has been going on forever. And the manipulation of our people is off the chain. And, you know how we say, family, yes or no? Yeah, y'all know how we say these people hate us, but we don't know why? Now we know why. We know why, because they're Esau. Now, are they all of Esau? Are they the 17 tribes who are descended from Esau? Or is it one tribe that took dominion who are of Esau? It's one tribe. It is the tribe of Zepho that has taken over the world, who have merged and integrated with Rome. And this is why they hate us so much. This is why they hang us from trees. They hate us because they know we are meant to rule. And that's why when people say, well, Yahuah, Esau was a black man. Yes, he was. Ancient Esau. But guess what? Let me throw this at you, and you can't contradict this. Yes or no, family? Was not the whole world black at one time, family? Yes or no? Come on. Yes or no? Was not the entire world black or of color at one time? Melanated, as y'all want to say. Yes or no? And if the world was black or melanated at one time, and every single tribe and culture were melanated, then the fact that Esau, Zepho, became white is an aberration. But you know what's funny? Esau is the head of the conspiracy or the confederacy, and some of those people who are confederated with Esau are melanated. Why? Because they're scared of him. Why? Because Esau has a great sword. Esau runs things. Esau fulfills the prophecy. Mr. D. Whitman fits the prophecies. Look, y'all can say racist all you want. I'm just being honest. I don't care about all that. I'm just being honest. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Gentiles who listening to me. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Y'all know that Western Europeans are the most violent, wicked people on the face of the planet. Y'all know that. Look at the history. Y'all know America is just as wicked. Look at the history. They kill by the sword. They crush they conquer, they subdue. But let's look at this for a second, and we're going to go to Daniel 2. And let's look at this dealing with the 10 toes. Daniel 2, 41 to 43. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. What kingdom? The Edomite kingdom, which is Rome. Yet the strength of iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. So it says, whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Now, this is interesting, right? Historically, this is very interesting historic, because I had to separate some things, excuse me, in order to get a clear understanding of what's happening. So historically, the Western Empire split into European kingdoms, right? The stronger kingdom of iron and the weaker kingdom of clay, forming the basis for modern Europe. Now, Daniel 2, 10 toes, and this is what I've learned recently, right? Daniel 2, 10 toes is not the same as the 10 horns of Revelation. Did y'all hear that? Daniel 2, 10 toes is not the same as the 10 horns of Revelation. See that? You got to renew your mind. You got to go back to the scriptures. You got to figure this stuff out. You got to play chess, and you got to say, hey, does that fit? Can I attack this way? Oh, what's going on here? They're not the same. The toes, the 10 toes, belong to the past phase of the Roman system. It's the remnants of the old empire. Excuse me. Daniel 7:24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse or different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So we see that this thing is different, right? Now, we also got to take note of Revelation chapter 17. Revelation 17, 12 to 13 says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So we see here there's 10 kings that get their power with the beast. They don't have a kingdom yet. Let me read this again. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. They are not the same as the 10 toes in Daniel's statute, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. The 10 kings don't exist as part of a divided empire like the 10 toes. Come on now. In Daniel 2, remember, the kingdom was divided, part iron, part clay. But here in Revelation 17, they did not receive a kingdom yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. The 10 kings don't exist as part of a divided empire like the 10 toes, but as an end-time alliance that gives power to the beast. The final world governmental system. Can we say the New World Order? they act in unity, which is different from the divided and fragile mixture represented by the toes. Now, we're going to talk about what the ancient empire was. We're going to talk about what the 10-toe kingdom was. See, that's where I missed it, because in the past I equated the 10 toes with the 10 horns, but they're not the same. One second. So the 10 toes, right? They belong to the iron and clay phase of the New World Order global system that started way back in the day of the Roman Empire. The decline of Rome, those nations mix, right? And we're going to talk about that. And while the horns, which we see in Revelation, belong to the beast phase of the same empire, the Roman Empire, or what some refer to as a revived Roman Empire. It's the revived global New World Order system. These are two different kingdoms. Now I'm gonna show you something. Let me finish. So what we see here is that the 10 toes describe what became of the empire. The horns describe how that same power structure returns under a new global order. See, that's why this end time beast is different from the fourth beast. Why? Because this end time beast, even though it's the fourth beast is part of it, is different. Why? Because this final beast is a conglomeration of other kingdoms or other beasts, and that's why the 10 horns are different than the 10 toes. So in Revelation 13, we see the beast rising out of the sea, and in Revelation 17, we see that the beast as having 7 heads, which is successive kingdoms, and 10 horns, which is the final confederated power. So what we're seeing today is this revived Roman Empire. Now, let me show you something. So remember I said the 10 toes were a divided kingdom, right? Partly strong, partly weak. Let me show you what I believe was going on here. So, y'all remember this, right? The Roman eagle or Aquila was a sacred symbol of the Roman legions, representing the power of the empire and the emperor. It was the primary symbol of the legion standard and was carried into battle by a highly prestigious order called the Aquilifer. Right? Losing an Aquila was considered a catastrophic disgrace for a legion, so much so that they would go to the extraordinary length to recover a lower standard. So we see this, right? We see this here, this single beast, right? This fourth beast, this beast with the 10 toes, which had a single nation running it, right? Which was Rome. Right, it was not a conglomeration of beasts, but it had iron claws, the fourth kingdom, which is Rome. Now, stay with me for a second, because remember, it says that it was partly strong and partly weak. Right, we have 5 toes on one foot and 5 toes on another foot. Right. Now, let me ask you something, family, before I continue. In the book of Revelation, for the New World Order global system, the final beast that we see today called the New World Order, is it separated as 5 and 5? Is it separated as 5 toes on one foot and 5 toes on the other? No, we see just 10 horns. Now, I'm going to show you what I think happened. So this ancient Roman structure with the eagle was the iron toes. And then what we have is it was partly strong and partly weak. Why? Well, it was still the Roman Empire, it was still iron, but some of the iron was clay. So what we have here is the double-headed eagle, right? Now, the double-headed eagle represented the Byzantine Empire. And the Byzantine Empire was sort of spiritual, right? Sort of religious, right? The Byzantine Empire had their people, and the Roman Empire, the iron part, had their people. One ruled with a rod of iron. One was a little bit more democratic, which was the Byzantine Empire. And so that's why you see Russia today with the double-headed eagle. That's why you see Russia today with the double-headed eagle. Now, you can look at it this way. The head on the left is the left foot of the statue. The head on the right is the right foot of the statue of Daniel. Partly strong, partly weak, but divided. Look at the head. See the head's looking different ways? Partly strong, partly weak, but divided. So what we're seeing today, in my opinion, with this New World Order beast system, which has 10 horns, which is not the same as the 10 toes, right? Because remember, the Bible says that the 10 horns receive power 1 hour with the beast. They don't have a kingdom yet. I believe that what we're seeing is this whole uniting, or the let's say the plan, or the task that they've set for themselves to reconstitute the Roman Empire. Now, what we see is, according to Scripture, is that this beast system is going to be tied to worship, just like the Byzantine Empire was. And this beast system is going to cause all, both rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and forehead, that no man might buy, trade, or sell unless he had to mark his name and the number of his name. And he causeth all to worship. What? It's going to be tied to worship. What? A religious empire. Separated from Yahuah is going to be an interfaith system. Still tied to Catholicism and still tied to Rome. But what we're seeing here is this task that they've set for themselves to try to unite the Roman Empire. And as I've shown before, is that America is the whore that rides the beast, right? Why? Because the beast is a conglomeration of nations. The beast is what? The beast is Psalm 83. The beast is Psalm 83. This empire is a Edomite empire. This New World Order is a Edomite empire. This New World Order is a Roman empire. And this is why when you look at the past and they gaslight you to try to make it where, hey, it ain't about race. Yes, it is. It is about race. They just don't want you to know that. It's not for, look, it's not about race with us. We don't care. Right? But it is about race with them. Why? Because those who are of the covenant, those who are promised to rule the earth, right, with Messiah, happens to be Negroes, descendants of slaves. Second Ezra says, now Esau is the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follows. So Esau lasted for a long time. Why? Because those legs are long. The Bible shows you that Esau is the one ruling at the end of the age. Esau is the one that Yahuah is going to judge. Esau is the one that has been stealing, killing, and conquering the whole world, right? Them people in the Middle East that say they are Yahudim and are not, they Romans. I told y'all that. They are Romans. The Anglo-Saxons who persecute us, they are Romans. I told you that. They're Romans. It's very interesting that the 10 are going to hate the whore and burn her with fire. Isn't it interesting that what we call the global South and what we call the BRICS nations hate America? Isn't interesting that Russia, their symbol is the double-headed eagle, just like the Byzantine Empire? I used to ask myself, why does America hate Russia? And why does Russia hate America when they're both Romans? They both want the New World Order. They both want a global government. Why are they fighting? Because it's two ideologies. Russia wants a multipolar order like the Byzantines. And America and the Western nations want an order like the ancient Roman Empire that ruled like iron. No democracy. Back to the Republic. They pledge allegiance to the United States of America, the Republic. Rome was a republic. America was a republic. But now, as we see in the scriptures, that Babylon is going to be betrayed by her allies. And they're going to join with the king of the north, Jeremiah 50:51. Revelation 17:18. They're going to join together and destroy the whore. And in the days of these 10, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom that shall never end. Babylon has to be destroyed first. But the 10 shall receive power 1 hour with the beast. While we're in the wilderness, they're going to rule this planet, except for Africa, for 3.5 years. When you look at history and you look at the oppressor, you cannot doubt who he is and who he was and who he continues to be. It is the same people that have enslaved us, the same people that kicked us out of Spain and Portugal, the same people that put chains on our necks with the transatlantic slave trade, sent it to the four corners. It's the same people. Why is it going to change now? It's the same people ruling right now. Who rules the world right now? Them folks. Mr. D. Whitman. Who oppresses you today? Is it the black man? No, it's Mr. D. Whitman. Who stops you from having businesses and having self-determination? Who's hanging your kids from trees? Who's putting your kids in jail? Who's stopping you from self-determination? It's Mr. D. Whitman. Along with the Confederacy of Psalm 83. The Confederacy of Psalm 83, led by Edom, which is Rome. Psalm 83 is the beast. It's a confederacy, and they're still working towards our demise. And when I told y'all that Trump is coming for black folks, when I told y'all Trump putting military in black cities, when I told y'all be prepared to get the heck out of Dodge, I get ignored and called a fearmonger. But the simple man or woman will assume that Esau not the white man. And I get it, because the camp say that Esau is the white man. Well, the camp's not fully wrong. It's just that all of Esau is not white. The ruling power structure is Esau. So let me say this. Here's a theory that I have, and I have no proof. Okay? And some of y'all ain't gonna like it. My theory is that Haile Selassie was an Edomite. That's my theory. My theory is that that's the reason why Haile Selassie was associated with Britain, with the Western power structure that was against the Israelites. Now, some of the old pictures, and you could go Google this yourself, both Haile Selassie and the former queen of Ethiopia had this globe in their hands. It's the same globe that the Queen of England had, which is world rule, which is world domination. Haile Selassie had that. The former queen of Ethiopia had it when they were taking pictures of them, when they were being, anointed as king and queen. Happened to be the same globe that Britain has. And we know from history that Haile Selassie had a relationship with the Western powers. And we know for a fact, just my opinion, that a lot of the Western nations, if you go look at some of the old pictures of Britain and the king and queen and all of them bowing on the knee. Yeah, that's it, the orb. Bowing the knee to Haile Selassie and bowing the knee to the former queen of Ethiopia. They would never bow the knee to a slave. How are they bowing a knee to a so-called black man when they have enslaved and persecuted and discriminated against the Israelites? That tells me that Haile Selassie is not us. Now, I'm not saying he's 100% bad dude, because he did allow our people to return back to Ethiopia. Maybe he had a change of heart. It's my opinion that Esau continued to rule Jerusalem. Y'all know I believe Jerusalem is in East Africa, in the highlands of Ethiopia. It's my contention that Esau ain't never left and continued to rule from Rome, which is why they have their own form of what we call Christianity. And it's the same place, too, that the true Israelites, some of them still stayed over there in the mountains, in the Simeon Mountains. And some of them say they were there for over 2,000 years in the Simeon Mountains. So some of y'all don't agree with me that that's the land. Well, it is. It's not South Africa. It can't be. But hey, you haven't read my books, because if you did, you'd be convinced. So anyway, fam, Esau is the white man, and some Edomites are black. The ones on the continent of Africa is black. The ones ruling the world are white, Roman mixture of Japhet and Esau. Now, some people want me to talk about the Horites and think that that's where Esau got his white color from. Maybe. I have no proof that the Horites were any other color than everybody else at the time, right? Because only the children of the Watchers, and I know some people say the Horites were children of the Watchers, and maybe they were. I don't know. But I think they got their white color when they went to Italia. But who knows? Like I say, it's a complex web, right? Migrations, intermixing, conquests, all that stuff. And that's things that most people don't take into consideration. And that's why, as I look at the scriptures, we see that things are very complex. Things are difficult, just like with us. Some Israelites were sent to the Americas. Some Israelites were sent, to Brazil. Some Israelites were sent all over the world, four corners, right? So the UK, and we see mixture there. I can't tell you for sure. One thing I do know, the prophecies themselves point to Rome. The prophecy says that Esau is Rome, and Rome is Esau. Understand this. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence for some things. And like I say, I'm not going to say that the Horites is, what they were. 'Cause I don't have enough information. So I can't speak on it. If I get revelation, I'll speak on it. I don't have enough information on the Horites to speak on it yet. I can surmise, and I'm not going to say people wrong who teach that that's where the whiteness come from, because I don't know. We speculate. We see through a glass darkly. And as we go forward, we can see the fulfillment of prophecies. And that's what I'm trying to get you to understand as well. That we live in the future. And because we live in the future, we can look back. The Bible says that they're going to change times and laws. Who did that? Who did it? It was Rome. It was the Holy Roman Empire. It was the Catholic Church. Who created the age of discovery, which is conquest, fulfilling the prophecies of Esau? Who did it? Them Western Europeans. Now, Russia conquered over there in the East. Don't get it twisted. But they didn't conquer no Israelites. But see, this final empire, this final kingdom, Russia going to be our enemy too, because they're part of the 10. Russia going to be our enemy. They're not our enemy right now, but they're going to be our enemy. But they're also going to be the tool used by the Most High to send us back home. So, like I said, some people take a linear view of prophecy, and they don't want to hear nothing else. Esau the black man. It is not that simple. Well, fam, that's all I got. If y'all want to support me, you can. You can become a patron. You can also go to tailministry.com, click on the donations tab. There's other options for giving. You can also give Cash App, $TOTW7101. And finally, I want to say this, fam, just to let y'all know. So, I met with a few other channels, and we're getting together where we're going to work together so we can try to help those who are losing their homes and those who don't have any food and things like that, right? So I'm working with some other ministries to do this. Now, we're going to be presenting to you all, the particulars and more details and information on that. But I am going to say this. When we ask you to give, sometimes y'all think it's just for this ministry, but really you forget that a lot of people come to us because they need help, but y'all don't give us the ability to help people. When you was in a Christian church, you wrote a check for thousands of dollars to pastor because he said you're going to be blessed. Or shall a man rob God? But y'all don't, I'm not saying all y'all, but some of y'all ain't never give. Y'all don't think of giving, and you ain't going to give. My point being is, with this new relationship that we're building with some of the ministries, right, priority is going to be given to those who supported our ministry. I mean, that's fair, right? Priority is going to come to those who support this ministry and have supported this ministry and the other ministries involved. They take priority over anybody else. Not saying we won't. But see, this is what I'm saying, that, the people who have the heart to support our family and help our family in times of need, y'all don't want to support us. Y'all don't want to help. Right? It just don't make sense. But the Gentiles can come together and give millions of dollars to a white woman who called a young black kid the N-word. Make it make sense. the Gentiles could come together and raise almost $1 million for a white woman who called a black kid an N-word, but y'all can't support our ministries. Anyway, it is what it is. I mean, I guess it's part of the curses, right? But the Most High, like I say, his will be done. And if his will be that we have the ability to help people and stuff, we're going to do it. Right? Otherwise, we all going to be praying for some miracles. And guess what? The support will be a miracle as well. Right? Regardless how it happens. I'm just saying, that's what we're doing. That's what we're talking about. We met last week, and we're going to be meeting again this week and talking more about it, and we'll give you more details. So, fam, love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the true Jerusalem, the lost kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Yahuah Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Yahuah Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to a hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.